Okay, hello guys. Just checking that everything's in order. Hello, just gonna tune up. I hope you can hear me. Hello from Argentina. Nice to meet you. Thanks for being. Thanks for watching. So until some people get here, I'm gonna play a little bit. Let me see if I can fetch something here, just to warm up. You can hear me okay? All right, how you guys doing? I hope you can hear me okay. This is the first time I do it with this platform. I'm using a new tool, so feel free to write anything. Um, so this broadcast, this streaming is going to be about some questions and answers if you have any, and also I'm going to discuss a little bit about blues structures and some chords I use, and some techniques and stuff like that. And yeah, other than that, I hope everyone is well and doing okay. With the coronavirus and everything, I know everybody is at home pretty much. Some people are maybe working, but most of them are not. So feel free to ask me anything. Um, so yeah, I guess I'll start by just talking about the structure of the basic blues, and then some jazz blues chords as well. Um, I'm going to bring up something on the screen here so it will be easier to see what I'm discussing. So, um, if you have a look at the screen, that's the basic blues structure. Uh, I've played in a different key now, but that's basically the structure I've played. And the top part you have the chords, and at the bottom you can see the degrees, the scale degrees. Now, if you're thinking about, for in this instance in A, so the first degree in the blues we're talking about an A7. Okay, it's not like a diatonic classical scale, but just looking at an A7 as a reference chord. And then we have, of course, our D7, and then lastly the E7. Okay, and these are your basic, everyday chords. I'm going to show you some different voicings and more clever chords and shapes that you can use. But first and foremost, the structure. This is a basic 12-bar blues that you see there, and it's crucial that you understand and know it by heart if you want to get really into the fancier stuff. If you want to get into the jazz blues, so the first thing that you want to do, if you don't already, is just know the basic chords. Have your A7, your D7, whatever shape and your E7. Now, this is just a regular 12-bar blues. We're not going to change that for now, not today anyhow. And I am going to show you some chords I like to use, some more sophisticated chords that make the sound of this blues a little bit more jazzy, I guess. And also, I will address some of the things you can do with them improvisation-wise. So I'll bring that up as well. Let me take this one off. Mic level is too low. Okay, I'll turn it up. Okay, is it better now? Can you hear me better now? Okay, I hope you can. So let's have a look at some of the chords that I like to use, and what makes this into a little bit more jazzy than the regular one. So if we're looking at an A root, right? So A will be a 1, D will be a 4, and E will be your 5th, right? So in the blues, we're talking about an A7, a D7, and an E7. Now, what you want to do is you obviously want your basic chords, like we said before, you want them in your head, and you want a basic structure. Now, after you've done, the whole routine, your basic chords, whatever, here I have some fingerings for more sophisticated chords, more lush sounding chords, more jazzy type chords. And you can use the same structures as we have seen before. Let me just fix this. Okay, hope you can see it properly. Now, if you look at the first chord, that's an A13th right there. Basically, what it means is that we're talking about a dominant chord. It's based off an A7, and we're adding the 13th, right? So if you're in an A7 scale, think about an A mixolydian, or even just an A major. It doesn't matter because the 6 is the same. So we're talking about this F sharp right here, right? And since we play it here, and we also have a 7 in the chord, we'll name it a 13th. So we have this fingering, okay? And this is a basic A 13th. Now you can also do it with a bar, with the first finger, and you can bar the 5th fret, and then just add the 3rd and the 13th right here. Don't play the 5th string, don't play this note, don't play the D on the A, that will sound bad. Alright? So we have this chord. It's a very nice and different sounding chord than the regular A7 chord. Okay? It's a beautiful chord to use on the 1st degree, 4th, or the 5th. You can use it anywhere. Now, if you have a look, there's an extension there. It says A9 without a root. Now, it looks like this. Now, if you know this chord and the sound in your ear, you will say, well, hang on, this is not an A9. This is actually a C sharp minor 7 flat 5, sorry, or half diminished. Well, that is correct. But if you add the A note on the bass, then what you actually get is the 3rd, the 7th, the 9th, then you have the 5th. Now, because we want to make parts where the guitar doesn't clash with the bass, right? You have a bass player going and everything. So you want to make unique voices that will sound great for the chord. So by playing this while there's a bass going on, you will end up with a very nice sounding chord over an A that will sound as an A9 basically. Right? So you can do both of them. You can do okay, it's like an extension of that chord. All right, the next chord we have, it says D9 right there. Okay, and there you have the root in the bass. There's your D. And then what you have is the 3rd, flat 7, and then you have the 9th at the top there. Okay, so this is a great sounding chord. It's very condensed, and it's a great sound, this chord. I use it a lot, and a lot of people do it as well. And it works great with either of the chords that we saw before. So if you're playing the blues, the regular blues, you're going from the 1st degree to the 4th degree, then this would be great to do this basically. If I'm going to bring up the structure again so we can see it. And there's the structure. So if I'm playing the A, I'm going to the D with this voicing. Okay, so they mix together very well. So let's go back to the chords and see them again. So if you have a look, then we have another D9 with no roots. Okay, and this chord, it's like this. Okay, it starts with the F sharp on the 4th string right there, and then you're playing the C, the E, and the A. Now, again, like the chord before, by itself, this is a minor 7 flat 5 chord. Okay, this is actually an F sharp minor 7 flat 5. But if you add a D in the bass, what you get as the major third, you get the flat 7 and the 9. And then if you want, you can also play the A at the top there, which is the 5th. So this is a very nice sounding chord against a D, for example. And I can take it anywhere in the neck, right? So if I would be playing, for example, an E7th, right? I can take the same shape and get this, right? And this will result in an E9. Okay. And by the way, if the feed cuts, it's not in my control, so I can only hope that it will be okay, not like last time. But I will get back. And so this is the D9 without the bass, right? Now the cool thing about this, is that you can add with your pinky, and you can see in the diagram, you can add the 13th of D, and the 13th would be a B note. Okay, so you can get this chord. Okay, and you can play with the 13th. Okay, you can bring it in and out from the 5th at the top there. So there I added the 13th. So it's very, modular. You can move it and you can add notes, etc. These shapes are very, very nice to know. And obviously the last one is just a regular E7. Okay, so those are the basic things that you need for the blues. So if I want to extend whatever it is I'm playing, then I would be using these chords, and you can obviously use them in conjunction with your regular chords, right? If this is my A7, right? This is my A7. Then I can go to the 13th, or I can go to the 9. So you have a lot of options there. Now, what I would recommend for you to do is, first of all, to learn these shapes and memorize them all over the neck, right? And there's a simple way to do it. Just open up a metronome and then take a circle of fifths, right? And you can go from the top, from C, you can go either right or left. And then just move the chords as if you were playing each circle of fifth note as the root of the chord. Okay? And then you basically know them all over the neck. So this would be my, and again, I'm thinking about this in relation to the bass note of A. Right? So we have, there's my A9. But as by itself, like we said before, it's an actual -7 flat 5 chord. That's the sound of it. But if you play the same thing against an A chord, you would get a very nice 9th sound. Okay, and I use this a lot. If I were to play the first degree, for example, an A7, I could be using the arpeggio there. Okay, and use it against that chord to get a very nice sound. But that's a little bit more advanced than what we need for now. So what you can do after you learned all the chords is basically take it through a 12-bar blues changes, right? The 1, 4, and 5, and then play with it. So you take a backing track, you know, there's tons of backing tracks there. You can get it on YouTube, you can get it just whatever sites you want, and just play with it. Take a rhythmic pattern, that's the most important thing, rhythm, and play the blues with those chords. So if I was to play, okay, just a straight up jazz blues, you know, played even the quarter notes as a rhythm. There's my 1, 4. There's my 4th. Going to the 5th. can play it simpler than that. Just play the ones. So let me bring up the structure again. Okay, so there's the structure, right? And I'll be playing to the count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you can, hold down the rhythm and think about the 2 and the 4. Those are the beats that we are concerned about, right? So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So the 2 and the 4. That's what I'm thinking about, in my head in terms of groove and time. So we can use those chords, right? So we have 1, 2, 3. Those little movements I do there is basically going in and out from the chord with like a semitone if you want. So you can go. Okay, so that's things you can add to your playing. So you can do something like this, for instance. 1, 2, 3. All right. So that's the basic structures of the blues, the 12-bar blues, and we've added some nice little chords. And you can play the bass one time and then drop the bass and play just the top notes, and it sounds different, and it can give you a very nice approach for a different part of the guitar, so it will sound different. So that's pretty much for the rhythm. Now, another tool you need in order to get the structure, tight and sound like, like a blues structure is the ending, right? Because you want to do what's called a turnaround. And a turnaround is that phrase that will get you back from the ending to the start. Like a cadence, if you want, but it goes on and on. So you have a 12-bar blues, and at the end of the blues, you will always have this turnaround that will turn you around and bring you back to the tonic at the beginning, right? So you basically can do, for example, take a simple line. Now this is from the, if we're in A, this is from the third, from the C sharp. And I'm going chromatically up from C sharp to the fifth, to the E. Now, this comes in at the end of the blues, right? Right at the 11th bar there. And for example, if I were to play the blues, let's say I'm in the last line of the structures you see on the screen, right? So I'll be playing the E. Okay, so as I go into the 11th bar to the A7th chord there, I play it on the 1, I give the A, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, da 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 dum. Okay. So if this was the 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Okay. So the line would be, and it's based off that chromatic line we just did, from the 3rd to the 5th. But I'm adding an octave of an A at the top of it, so you would get this. Yeah, I hope you can see this properly. So I'm playing a C sharp with my first finger, and I'm playing an A above it with my pinky. So I'm playing the C sharp going to the D, still keeping my pinky on the A, and going to the D sharp, and going to the E. And all the time my pinky stays on the A. Now you can play it together. that. And you can also play it, you can alternate between the A and the line you go through, like this. Okay, so that's like a basic turnaround for the blues, and it works like a charm. It's great, and everybody knows it by ear. You know, everybody knows this line. So if you were to play from the ninth bar, from the E7 there, right, you would get this. One, two, and three, and four, and one, and you end on the fifth. Now there's tons of lines like this, and they all do the same thing. They turn you around, go back to the head, go back to the top, right? That's a turnaround. It's turn around, go back to the top. Because we play the 12 bar blues over and over and over. We play a head of sorts, like a melody, you know, and then we improvise. And the structure keeps going. It has to remain tight because people will improvise over it. And the turnaround is like a signal. Okay, we're done. We're going back again to the top, right? So, for instance, another turnaround you can do. This is an old one, and you know, Clapton uses it a lot. So are many other famous players, and it's something like this. Okay, you probably heard it a few times, and can you see me now? Can you hear me, see me? Because for me, it's on my end. It's for my end. It's fine. Anyhow, you can refresh the browser maybe. So the line I was playing was this. Okay. Now I'm holding with my pinky an A note. Okay. And then with my third finger, I'm playing a G. Okay. And I go chromatically down from the G to the E. So I'm playing a G flat, an F, and an E. And that alongside with the A. And then it goes to the E. And this is all happening on the 11th bar of the 12th bar blues, right? Into the 12th bar and then back up top. So if I was to play from the 9th bar again, from that E7th you can see on the chart at the bottom there, then it will sound like this. Okay, so there you have it. That's the turnaround right there. And another thing you can do with the turnarounds is you can go up higher, right? So you can do, for example, something like this. Okay, and that will be playing. Okay, that's basically playing sixes, and I'm starting off with my third finger on the third string right there on the E note, alongside with my pinky on the C sharp right there. Okay, there's a sixth interval, and then I just bring it down chromatically, semitone, half step, and then another half step down, and then what I do at the end is I will go a half step from the third string and then a whole step from the first string. So the line on the first string, just the line on the first string, would be like this. Okay, I'm going from the C sharp to the C to the B, and then to the A. And while I'm at it, I'm doing third string an E, E flat, a D, and a C sharp right there. Okay? So there you have it. It will be like. And again, you can use this in many different ways. You can use it alternative. You can alternate the notes. So what I'm doing there is I'm playing the third and the first, and then going back to the third, and then a half step down, and then another half step down. Okay, and you can also play it together like this. Right? So all those things will make your structure of the blues more solid. Now, some of them are more older, old from the 1920s and stuff like that, and even before. And some of them are more modern, and you can get a lot of different sounds just from the turnarounds. Now I can get a little bit more complicated and do something like this. Go for the A7. And these are all turnarounds, right? So let me play a blues, and I'll do a little bit of a modern turnaround at the end there. Watch. So that right there was a simple turnaround in terms of thinking, because it's a turnaround like any other one I just did before, but it's more complex harmony-wise. And it's simple to play because what I've done is just take this 13th chord I showed you before, right? And I took it a minor third up. So I'm playing a C 13th, and then a half step down to B 13th, and another half step down to B flat 13th, and back to an A. Now, I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of theory about why this works, and we can, but I think it's not something practical at the moment. But just know that it's based off a different progression, right? And these are what they call these are replacement chords, if you will. I'm not sure if the name is correct in English, but you can basically take a chord and replace the function of another chord, right? Okay, and I can do the same. That's another turnaround right there. So I'm playing an A 13th, I'm going to an F sharp 9. This is like your like your Hendrix chord, a little bit more jazzy. So I'm playing an F sharp 9, okay, and then the B minor 7th, and this is like this fingering is very, I guess, jazzy. You can also play it like this, but with this fingering, you don't play the 5th string, right? And then play an E7, which is the 5th. You can play an E9. If you wanted more tension, you can play an E sharp 9, E7 sharp 9, and then back to the A. Okay? So, if I were to play a structure, and I would be using this turnaround, it would sound like this. what I've added there is this. All right, and I can add this basically to any chord in the blues because this is like a substitute. That was the name, substitute. That's the official name, not replacement, substitute. So this will replace this E7th. So if we play at the end of the blues, I can play this instead. This B flat 13th in this case. It's like a fifth. Going back to the A, right? And it's a very powerful tool because you can use it in many different ways. Like for instance, in the structure itself, before each degree of the scale you're going to, like for instance, if you're going to this fourth degree, the D7th, 9, then I can go through this chord. You can already hear that it works wonderfully, right? Because this is a very unstable chord in comparison to the harmony we're in, right? This is a very weird chord. It's a, yeah, that's a tritone sub. So I can go from here to here, right? And the substitute doesn't only work harmony-wise, but also melody-wise. I'll get to that. So I can go okay, and that's like leading inside into the fourth chord. So, and this E flat 9, yeah, it can be a half-step approach, and it can also be a tritone sub because it's replacing the A7 as a 5. But we'll get to that later. It's a little bit more complex. Right now, just focus on getting that sound and going from one chord to the other, right? And you can do this again with every chord in the blues. Now, this is a lot of information, but it's actually very simple because it's very intuitive to go from one place to the next with some sort of bridge. So think about it not just as playing chords, like going from the A to the D, but you want to bridge the gap from A to D. Now, this thinking is very much related to the way I improvise and play. And a lot of people, you know, in jazz and blues, it's not just thinking about the chords as blocks of chords, but thinking about the way to get from point A to B. Like, how am I going to get from A to D? And these types of changes that we just did will help you do that because you're bridging the gap between those chords. And again, at the moment, what you need to worry about is just getting this on the finger, you know, just playing it in all different keys and styles and adding it to different kinds of blues. You know, there's jazz blues, regular blues, shuffle, Chicago, whatever. And it all works. And even if the bass player is not playing directly with you, you can still use those chords, especially the top parts, which we've seen. And I'm going to bring it up again. Where is it? There it is. So especially those top ones, right? Like the D9, 13th, you know, that's chord we did. That type of voicing, okay? And this type of voicing. So the top parts of those chords, they will do very well in that kind of situation to go from one chord to the next, okay? All right, so I want to do some Q&A now. I've had some questions sent to me, so I'm going to look now and answer them. And if you have any question, please ask away. And if you want to see the setup I'm using right now, then I can bring it up on screen as well. That's no problem. Okay, so C to G asked me, what's your favorite guitar, pedal, and amplifier? He also asked, do I have a warm up routine before performing? How often do I practice? And do I have days that I don't play at all? And he also asked what got me into music, etc. So that's a big question, but I will do uh, my best to answer it uh, precisely and shortly. Um, so, first off, my favorite guitar, well, it's this one you see right here. This is my Sir guitar from John Sir, and this is a classic T. It's basically a Telecaster, but it's a very playable guitar. It's very comfortable. The neck, I'm not sure you can see this properly, but the neck is not. It's not a thin neck. This is a vintage '60s. It's quite a thick neck in comparison to regular Fenders maybe and Ibanez's, if you know the slim C type necks. But this is an oval neck, right? So this neck, I'm not sure how much you can see it clearly, but it's an oval neck. Now, what this means is that while it is a thick neck, the ovality of it makes it very comfortable to grip. And it's a satin finish, this neck. So it's very comfortable. And I had this guitar for years, and I've been playing it for years. And there's a nice story behind it. I've sold it once to a student of mine, and I haven't had it for 3 years. It was his, and then he wanted to sell it. Now we had an agreement that if he sells it, I'm the first one he comes to. Sadly, I didn't have the money then to buy it again from him. So it did go to a friend of mine, and he ended up selling it to me once I did manage to buy it again. So it got back to me after a long time, and I'm very, very happy. This is my favorite guitar by far. It's very versatile, and I really, really like it. Next question. My pedal and amplifier. Well, the pedal I use a lot is the Strymon Flint. You know, the Flint reverb and tremolo. I think it's a wonderful pedal, simple, and it's a great sounding pedal. I also like the exotic pedals, the RC Booster and the AC Booster, which I use live a lot in recordings. And there's a very nice pedal, which is not so much a familiar one, but it's called Direct Drive by Barber Electronics. And that pedal is a very versatile overdrive pedal. It can go from subtle overdrive to raw and distortion, and I really like it. I use it a lot. So those are my favorite pedals, and my most favorite, I think, is a Delay by Catalin Bread, which is called Belle Epoch. Simple pedal, beautiful sounding, has this like analog tape delay sound, and I really dig it. I really like it. It's really nice. Um, no, now I'm actually direct. I'm going through a UAD interface. Let me show you. Um, Let me show you what I'm going through. So this is my screen now. Okay, this is my screen, and what you see is basically this is the amp I'm using. This is a Fuchs Overdrive Supreme. That's a plugin from UAD, and this is basically a Dumble clone. Okay, it's a Dumble clone, and at the right there is just a mixer that you can see. But this is the setup. I'm going completely direct, and it's great because it has beautiful sounds, which I am going to show you in a bit. But back to the questions and my amp. Well, you'll be surprised. I've had many amps. I really like the Bogner Barcelona, which I have. It's from Reynold Bogner. He built it for me, and it's a beautiful amp, beautiful amp. 40-watt head. It can go down to 20-watt. It just has this big fat sound, and it's a great platform for pedals. You know, it's a great platform for pedals, and I love that amp. It's just a beautiful piece of art, in my opinion. It's very simple. Doesn't have anything. It's just one channel, and that's it. It's a platform for pedals mostly. And the second amp, which I really dig, is the Vox AC10C. Did I say that right? Yeah, AC10C. I have it in the back there. Okay. I hope you can see that. That's the Vox AC10. It's a beautiful amp. Simple amp. Again, one channel. And I don't know what they did there, but it sounds great. It sounds great on stage and recording. It's a little amp, so you can't push it too far, but it's really nice sounding. And let's see, that was a big question. How often do I practice? Well, these days I don't practice much. I play mostly. If I do practice, it's probably because I'm transcribing something that I need to practice a solo, something, whatever that I have to transcribe for any reason. Maybe I have to record something, but I don't practice as much as I would like to. Um, just don't have the time for it. So um, and regarding warm up, yeah, warm up is very important for me. It's either I play something very that's easy to me. I don't want to stress the fingers. I would maybe play like stuff like that. That's, for example, that's a Bach piece, for written for violin. That's great for warm up. I will maybe also do some spider taps, chromatic exercises, just to get the fingers going and stuff like this. Just anything to get the finger going. Maybe play a few scales. Stuff like that. Um, I wouldn't go directly into playing hardcore, and I would give it 10, 15 minutes just to play easily, warm up. You don't want to hurt yourself or hurt the fingers. So anything that will be good for warm up. Anything that you can play fluidly, like scales, and nothing heavy. Take it easy with the warm up. But Bach is great for that because it involves everything. There's musicality there. There's scales, arpeggios. There's music, beautiful music there. So partitas and sonatas for violin by Bach, very recommended to anyone. And yeah, do I have days where I don't play the guitar? Yeah, I have days that I don't play the guitar. I have weeks that I don't play the guitar. For sometimes, it all depends on the period I'm in. If I have the muse to play, it's sometimes you just don't want to pick up the guitar, and that's fine. I think it's a natural. So if it doesn't come easy, then I'll give it a break and I'll come back to it when I can. Fortunately, because I have students and shows and gigs and stuff like that, it comes down to that I have to play. So if I have a gig, I have to be there and play. If I have a student, whether it's an online lesson, like these days, I only do online lessons, right? I don't meet with people because we are in all because of the situation, right? So I have to play either way because you know. But sometimes I will just do the lessons and the gigs, and I will not practice or do anything. I will just give it a rest because if it doesn't come easily, I don't want to force myself into it. So it will be a few days, and then I'll grab the guitar again. Yeah, and that popping sound coming from the stream. What sound do you mean? So yeah. Anyway, I wanted to show you a little bit of this setup. Basically, I'm going through this UAD interface I have. If you can see in the back, let me show you here. You see where my finger is pointing? That's the UAD interface. Okay, that's the Apollo Twin. It's a wonderful piece of gear. It's not so cheap compared to what it gives. It's basically an audio interface. It it has a very nice input for guitar and a high Z input. But I think it's one of the best. It's definitely one of the best, in my opinion. Now, this console that you can see from the right side, okay, is basically like a mixer, and you can put all your plugins and whatever, the UAD plugins, of course. Now, the amplifier goes on top, okay? It goes on top, and it goes in what they call a unison insert. So, what that means is that the plugin uses the hardware, okay? And the amp will act as if it was a real amp. And the impedance of the input will change depending on what amp plugin I decide to use. So it's somewhat um, close to real life. It's the best plugin that I ever played. It's I can't say there's anything better, um, because if you listen, for example, the clean sounds, right? You know, those type of those types of sounds are very hard to do with plugins. Distortion is easy, overdrive is easy with plugins, but the clean sounds and the breakup sounds are the hard ones, and this can do it perfectly. Now, there's a few plugins that they have. They have the Fender Tweed 55, which is great, and this is the Fuchs, and the Fuchs is basically a Dumble clone. It's a Dumble overdrive, the Robert Ford sound. So if I go here and I move it to this is like a preset I've done. It's more distorted, but you can see. So that's an overdrive sound, and then I have a little bit of softer overdrive. That type of sound, and then of course the clean. So it works out pretty great. I like it. Um, Zlatko has asked if I'm generally satisfied with the color of my tone. That's a good question. Um, hmm. Well, yes and no. In general, yes, I am pleased with the tone and the sound I get, either playing direct or through my amps. And but I find that tone is something that evolves. Like I will like something for a year or half a year, and then I will make little changes to it, and it will come to a place that it sounds completely different than something else I've done, maybe a year ago. But in general, I like my setup clean. It's not complex. For me, it's always been a guitar going to directly to the amplifier, or maybe through some pedals. I don't have a big pedal board. My pedal board has like 5 or 6 pedals. That's it. I have the TC Electronics tuner on it. I have an RC booster there. I have an AC booster, and I have the direct drive overdrive, the Bell UPAC delay, and the Flint. That's it. That's all I got. That's my setup for live and for recordings when I use amps. That's all. And I've always been either, it's either been clean, with the reverb like I do now, or some distortion with the delay overdrive. That's it. It's not going to get any more complex than that. It's not something that I've gone into, you know. So yeah, I try to keep it simple, simple. I think that's the key, and to focus on the content that I'm trying to play, making that better and evolve that as I grow with my playing and technique, etc. um, you have to experiment. You know, you have to experiment, and you have to um, forget sometimes everything that you know. Because for me, going into digital, playing with plugins was not easy. Because I can tell you to this day, it's very hard to emulate an amplifier, especially the clean tones and the breakup tones. Those are very hard. And it's not because of the sound samples, because the sound samples, they can get perfect. You know, it's great. But the response of an amplifier in the room with you, the air is moving, you know, and something about the dynamics is not yet 100% happening with the plugins. But I do have to say and give it to UAD, Universal Audio, that they do have a very, very good system in place. It's not 100% digital because you still have the need for a hardware. You still need the card, the interface. So I'm using, as I said, you can see here, the Apollo. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it is the plugin, the amplifier. So you will need those things. I also have the 55 Tweed, which is very nice. I can also show you that. Um, hopefully, it's not nothing is going to blow up. So I'll just change quickly the amps. I'll show you how I do it. Basically, I have like a preset I've made. So what's happening now is that I've changed amps. And there it is. Okay. So that's the Fender Deluxe Tweed, the 55. And it's a great amp. I love it. It's a very different sound. You know, it's a little bit on the breakup. If I go to the bridge pickup, I can get that nice breakup sound. And if I just lower my volume a little bit, it will clean up. Okay. So yeah, it's a very nice. I really like the setup because I can go to press of a button, like here, for instance. I can go back to my Dumble. Okay, and that's again this one, and that's the Fuke. Okay, that's a Fuke overdrive. Fuchs, sorry. And the great thing about this is that it has tons of options. If I go here to the effects rack right here, it basically has, like, you can change the cabinets and the microphones. You can add delay, and you know there's a noise gate if you want to use that. It's very nice. But for me, you know, I just get a good tone and run with it. So I found I made this, you know, clean, which I like. You know, and I've off of that I've based my just a little overdrive sound. So that's like my go-to. That's what I would record with now. It's just so easy. My online lessons I do with this rig as well. I do a Zoom and Skype, you know. So it's great. It's really nice to work with. chords and stuff we talked about at the beginning, by the way. So let me play off with a just a slow 12-bar blues. I'm going to bring it all together. Please write down any questions you have. I will happily answer them. Cliffs of Dovers, yeah. Well, it's been like 6 years or something. Yeah, I've played that before. Um, yeah, I'll probably remember some of it. Um, it's been a long, long time though. I do have. If you look on my channel on YouTube, um, if you look for Cliffs of Dover, you will see a cover I do of it, and I play the whole thing through in one take from stop to finish. So that was a nice challenge for myself. I liked it a lot. Although it's been almost 6 years or 5 years, I think. So, but it's there if you look at my channel. Yeah. Hi, Ellie, and Ellie is asking, um, so about my approach for double stops. So yeah, um, basically it's from my country, background, and if you look at any, basically everything I do now, I involve double stops and country, whatever. If it's fusion, if it's jazz, if it's blues, I do always have some country there, and it has to do with two things. Basically, a lot of the pentatonics, when I think about it, I think of major and minor, right? So, for instance, if I'm in A, right, there's the minor pentatonic and there's the major right there. So I can mix those and I can double stop off of those mixes. For example, if I do something like the, so I'm playing those, like for instance here in A, I'm playing a C sharp and then an E on top there. So I would be going, and the thing about this is that for me it always relates to a chord. So when I'm thinking about this A wherever I'm at, then I will see this triad. That's the key, right? Because everything for me is around the harmony. So, sorry, 1 second. So if I'm looking at double stops, it's always something with the harmony. So you can get this A chord and just play off of that, right? And then let's take another example. So I'm playing. So again, this for me, this is basically an A chord, right? And this is a G chord. And back to an A. So I'm thinking, right? And this is just a pentatonic run. I'm doing that on the third string and this on the second string. So together you get that type of sound. And you need that punch with your fingers. You got to play with your fingers or with a pick, hybrid picking style. So like an exercise that you can do would be something, let me think. So let's take something like this. There's a double stop right here at the top, at the second string at the E, and then the first string at the D, and I would be going back and forth with the A note on the fourth string. So get that type of sound, and I would maybe alternate that with the G note here, and then I would maybe add something like we did at the beginning. So I have this, right? So this is like a there's a D and an F sharp, and a C and an E go into a C sharp and an E. Right? So all those things again are harmony related, and the technique is just, building this type of thing. That type of sound. So that type of sound comes with, the plucking, and it's for me, it's based on this basic idea of sound with the fingernails and the meat of the fingers. So there's the fingernail here, which is, it's not long. So when I pick with the fingernail and the meat of the finger right here. So you get that warmth and the punch together, and just something to work on. It's not. That type of sound, it's mostly, it's just the way you play. It's just the way the fingers, you teach them how to play. I hope that gives you some insight. Yeah, so go ahead, ask me more questions. And then you always have to, and the fingernails, you always have to make sure they don't get cut. If they do, just grab a jeans and rub them through, or you can get a, this, and manicure your fingers. All right, guys. So, if there's anything else you want to ask me, then go ahead. Regarding anything. I'm just going to bring back up the things we talked about at the beginning. So these are the chord shapes. We have the A13th. We have the A9. This shape of this, it's like a C sharp minus 7 flat 5, but with the context of an A, becomes an A9. And I have this D9. We have it without the root. Right? And we also so I can add the 13th. Right? There's a basic E. There's your E. Okay. And another thing, when you think about these shapes, what you always want to do is see the shape in many different places on the neck. Well, I'll do a live session about this, maybe next time. But just to get you going and something to think about, if you have this E7, just just an E chord, then learn it in the most minimal way on 3 strings. So, for example, this would be an E chord right there. Okay, this would be an E chord. That would be an E chord, and that's another way to unlock the secrets, so to speak, of the neck. So when I'm doing something like this, I'm seeing all the shapes. I'm seeing this. For me, that's just an E. Something simple like this. It's just going up the arpeggio. So all these shapes, they really come in handy. So it's really a good, be a good thing just to drill them. Take the circle of fifths and go through them one by one and do them all over the neck. Like if there's an E chord, find them, etc., and then connect them melodically. So. Yeah, it's a whole bunch of stuff. You can do with just this shape. Thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope it was helpful, and I do just want to set a quick reminder that I do teach online. If you guys are into it, I am available to do Skype lessons or via Zoom, software Zoom lessons. You can do this over the phone, even just anything that's with a camera, and will work. And other than that, feel free to ask me anything on the community tab of the channel. I will have a post coming up with questions for people, that you can ask me. And I will see you again next live. And hope this has brought you some enjoy and stuff to practice. And, good health to you all. Thank you.